Good afternoon and good evening in Holland. Today we are welcome you everyone to the Chrysanthemum value chain. In the week of the Chrysanthemum week, every time, every year, week 35, put it on your agenda. It's going to be an event that each year has even greater results. The Chrysanthemum Week is a breeders' initiative for the growers to visit their open houses and get to know the new varieties for the next year's campaigns. A huge thanks to all of the sponsors for this event. Bol, Dassinger, Decker, Deliflor, Dumen Orange, Floritech, Icon Selections, Progeny, Royal Van Santen, and Selecta. I would also like to thank our sponsors for this hybrid event. These hybrid events bring some challenges, but we are here, we are connected to our panelists thanks to the internet. Syngenta, UPL, Unidad de Biotecnología Vegetal from Zetzsche University. This pandemic has separated us for more than 1 year, but thanks to vaccination and our biosecurity protocols, we are able to be back again together. We are very thankful for that. Now, let's get to know to our panelists, our stars for tonight. Let's start in order of our chrysanthemum value chain. Professor Richard Visser from Wageningen University. He is the chair and head of plant breeding for this university, and he is connected from Holland. It's almost 12 p.m. at night, so we are very thankful for having you here, Richard. How are you over there?
Sorry, I had to unmute. Well, I'm very fine, thanks. And I'm happy to be at this event, which is very interesting. So far, I've seen already an interesting video from Syngenta on all kind of things. So I'm anxious to see what the evening or the night will bring for me.
Thank you, Richard. Next step in our value chain, I would want to introduce Mrs. Cristina Fernández. She will be here in our stage. Please come over. She is a head grower from Carmel Flowers, and we're happy to have her in person. Next, we go with Kate Kennedy. She's the principal buyer for produce and floral at Whole Foods Market. Hello, Kate. How's it going?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. Great to be here today.
Thank you. We get to go and get to know more in the afternoon. Next, in our chrysanthemum value chain, we have John Doe Zetzsche. He is the president of Bloom's Floral Market for HEB. Hi, Joe Don. How are you?
Hello. Great to see you all, and I'm very, very pleased to be here to talk to you and learn from you today.
Thank you, Joe Don. Next is Andrea Ancel. She is the director of design at FTD and Pro Flowers. Hi, Andrea. Nice to have you here.
Hi, I'm very excited to be here. Can't wait to see what else I learned today. And very exciting, so thank you.
Great. I think we are all excited about this. Paula Arango. She's the principal buyer for Colombia from Delaware Valley Flower Group, and she's representing the wholesalers in our value chain. Hi, Andrea. How are you?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for inviting me and having me here today.
Thank you, Andrea. Next, I would like to invite our next panelist on stage, Mr. Augusto Solano. I think he doesn't need an introduction. He is the president of Azocol Flores, and he has been working for our industry for more than 18 years. Augusto, nice to have you on stage. Last but not least, our moderator, Becky Roberts. She is the Floral Director at PMA, and she will be guiding us through this conversation this afternoon. Hi, Becky. Great to have you here.
Hello, everyone, and so glad to see all so many people down there in Colombia. And I did want to let you know I have so missed coming down. I was there in 2019 and enjoyed coming down to Chrysanthemum Week. So I hope to get back down there in 2022. So welcome everyone to the hybrid, and know that everyone here in the States is missing our opportunities to come down there and see what all the new things and varieties and everything you have going on.
Thank you, Becky. Hopefully, we will have you next year, 2022, during week 35 for this event that, as I told in the beginning, it's going to be next year once again, because we're happy to have everyone here getting to know all the varieties of the breeders and the future of the chrysanthemum. I would like to give Augusto Solano some words for you to introduce and have your people listening to you. And around the world, we have people connected through the internet. So it's not only our panelists, but also people that wanted to attend to this panel as spectators. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you, Andres. Good afternoon, everyone. Those here, thank you for coming. And those connected to this event, welcome. Welcome all to Chrysanthemum Week 2021 in Antioquia, Colombia. And I want to congratulate all the 10 breeders that have made this event possible. As Andres said, week 35 is already becoming the well-known all over the world for chrysanthemum growers and breeders. This is for sure going to be a reference point for all of you, and it's gonna remain. Now we've been doing this for 4 years in a row. Last year it was a virtual event. Now we have a hybrid event, and hopefully next year we can have all of you here in person, all of you. This morning I was able to visit some of the trials, and I was really impressed. It's amazing the varieties, the work behind this, and but more than that, it was the energy I felt and the people we haven't seen for almost 2 years. Besides the WUPSA convention conference in Miami, I guess this is the other event where we've been able to meet, and we need that. This is an industry, this is a business that you need to see the persons, you need to see the product, and visiting the trials of chrysanthemum is just amazing. The colors, the shapes, the textures is just something unbelievable. And we all know that innovation is what drives this industry. Innovation in production, innovation in marketing, but above all, innovation in new varieties. And that's why in Azogolflores we support so much the respect for intellectual property rights and a fair relationship between growers and breeders. So this is key to keep innovation going. I want to give a special welcome to Becky Roberts, Floral Director for PMA. We are proud and happy and thankful for having you again with us in this event and as moderator. And I also want to take the opportunity, Becky, to thank you for all that you've been doing for the industry through the Floral Council and your energy and your support for the industry. This has been key. I also want to welcome all the panelists. Thank you for your interest, participation, and we are eager to listen to your insights of the industry, especially of this segment of chrysanthemums. This industry has been blessed during this pandemic, certainly. We never thought having such a strong market with this kind of growth. But I think it's only not lucky, and even due to the pandemic, that it's ironic that maybe the pandemic did for the industry more than all the promotion we've been trying to do in all these years. But it's also been the responsible way that the industry has acted, giving priority to the health of the workers. That's what we've been doing here in Colombia, and that's what allowed us to keep on working. So I can see and feel the optimism of everyone. We're still looking for the large events to come back. That's maybe the thing we're missing. But the challenge remains for the whole industry to see how we're going to make this behavior become a habit. This is something, when the pandemic goes away, we need this to stay and to have a strong market. So thank you all for being here. And now I would like to invite Becky to start this panel. I want to, before that, I just want to recognize the work of Andrea Sainz as coordinator of the whole week. So with the help of the breeders and Flores, Antioquia, this has been made possible. So Becky, now please give way to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Augusto. I appreciate those very kind words. It's certainly been my pleasure to work with the volunteers and the industry around the globe. And certainly to echo your words, it's been a fantastic experience over the past few months and year, the experience we've been having. So once again, I do say hello and welcome to all of you, no matter whether you're in Colombia or wherever. So glad everyone could join us this afternoon. My name, once again, is Becky Roberts, and I've been the director at the Produce Marketing Association for more than 23 years, and have worked with the Floral segment for more than 20. And certainly it's been my pleasure to work with our volunteers as well as our members over that time. PMA is a trade association that represents the supermarket side of the floral industry here in the US. When you think about the different channels there's also different associations. For instance, for the mom and pop florist shop, there is the Society of American Florists. So you might ask, why the Produce Marketing Association? Typically here in the States, sometimes the structure has the VP of produce also having responsibility for the floral department. So it was the retailers, it was the supermarket people that came to PMA and said, we would like for the PMA Association to represent the supermarket side of the floral industry here. So that's why you now see PMA taking this role on for the past 20, 30 years. So as a trade association, our big role here is to help bring the industry together. And it could be in events to help grow their business. It's also to bring them together to address issues, challenges, problems that the industry is having, and how we can all come together to come up with solutions. Also, we do research, and it could be data, it could be consumer industry trends, whatever kind of information it's going to be relevant to help the industry to keep growing. And today, during our session, we will have a panel discussion here, and it's all about asking the panelists some of their perspectives on chrysanthemums and the floral products that we're now bringing to market. But first, I would like to share with all of you some of the retail and consumer trends that PMA has been monitoring over the past year and a half. And certainly with the pandemic, we have certainly seen some shifts and changes. So let's get started. If you could bring up the first slide, please. So the mass market floral industry ended on, as far as supermarkets, they ended 2020 with up about 4% of sales. And when you think about the horrific April, March that we had last year, to end the year 4% up when you compare it to 2019, that is certainly saying something for our industry. And sales have continued to be strong throughout, when you think about the third quarter of 2020 up until today. we are still seeing strong floral demand. The first quarter and second quarter of 2021, we have seen gains up to 25% when they compare them to 2020. So we are seeing this continued demand and growth for the floral industry. And this has all been documented, and we have the data that's now able to be the industry to be able to see this. Next, please. So now let's take some looks at the consumer trends, because we know that it is the consumer that is driving this demand. So we want to start to understand how the pandemic has been affecting our consumers. According to just this past June, IRI did a shopper survey. They found that of the people they surveyed, 73% of them were vaccinated. Now this is up 29 points compared to the survey they did of April of this year. So we are certainly seeing that trend of people still getting vaccinated. 46% of those that were surveyed said they plan to work from home through the summer, and 31% of them said that they will be doing small celebrations with their family and friends. Next slide. This same survey found that on average, today's consumers are spending about 32 minutes in the supermarket to do their grocery shopping. Now, this is down about 4 minutes pre-COVID. But when they did the same survey in 2020 of May, this is up about 2 minutes. So we are seeing that consumers are starting that trend to spend a little bit more time in the supermarkets. And this is very important because we know the longer we can keep them in the supermarket, the more chance we have for that impulse buy. And we know floral purchasing typically is an impulse buy. Next slide. Now, when we listened to our members this past first quarter, they were really asking, do we have any research that kind of like would lead them to understand, are we going to see this continuation? Are we going to see this continued demand for floral products? So we put a survey in the field March of this year, and we're asking consumers about some of their habits. So when we asked consumers about their purchasing for 2020, most of the people told us, 70% told us that they purchased flowers because it made them happy. We also know that the pandemic has caused today's consumers to be much more focused on their mental and physical health. And we know that research has proven time and time again how flowers can help with their mental health. It brings that calming, takes some of the stress out of their life, also makes them feel happy. Consumers are also spending more time at home. So we saw that 49% of those that we surveyed said that they purchased flowers because they were thinking about their home decor. So with spending more time at home, we see today's consumers are trying to make their home more pleasant, more joyful, and to feel more cozy since they're spending so much more time there. But still, we see 41% of those we surveyed still are seeing this as, oh, I saw something at the store. It caught my eye. So once again, we're still seeing consumers. It is an impulse buy. So merchandising is still very key to make sure we're catching that consumer's eye. Next slide. For most of the supermarkets, it's all about attracting those next generation to start purchasing flowers, as well as trying to get the current generations to purchase more flowers. But regardless of the generation, most consumers are purchasing 1 to 2 times a year for themselves. We see Generation X and the boomers are purchasing their flowers in the supermarkets, while Generation Z and the millennials are more likely to purchase their flowers online. Next. Once again, our research found that consumers are looking for high quality flowers and they're expecting them to last at least 1 week. For many flower purchasing, we are seeing that we are exceeding that expectation And we are over-promising there and delivering more by having flowers lasting longer than 1 week. Next. During that IRI shopper survey that was just conducted in June, a majority of those consumers were saying that they found recycled, environmentally safe, biodegradable, reusable packaging all as being sustainable. Little less popular were the words natural, socially responsible, and ethically sourced as being sustainable. Once again, here's ideas of where we can show how floral products are sustainable. Next. So now we're going to turn from looking at the consumer trends and see about our retail trends. During the summer months, PMA interviewed supermarket floral buyers to find out some of their thoughts. And what we found was most retailers were very optimistic about this continued floral growth through the next few months for the United States. This retail optimism was across all categories. They're seeing consumers opting for higher ticket items as well as specialty items. And certainly some of these retailers were sharing with us their excitement around the potted category. They are seeing that quite booming at the moment. And some of the retailers were even sharing how they're having difficulty to keep the product in their floral departments. Next. When we asked the retailers about some of their challenges, they identified the following 6. Labor. We know retail still continues to struggle to get enough labor at store level. And this does affect the product care and handling, as well as their in-store merchandising. And we've heard how the floral departments have had to simplify some of their programs to be able to make sure they can execute at store level. Transportation. I'm sure I don't have to tell any of you about the huge challenges and the high increase in cost for transportation. Retailers were sharing with us for every over 40 loads for one driver. So we're certainly seeing a very, very short supply of drivers to meet our needs. Also about the challenges they're having to get the air capacity to bring product to market. Next was strategies to increase consumer pricing. We know retailers are very, very cautious about increasing prices for the consumer. And this is all about their concern that if prices go too far, will it stifle the demand and this momentum we're all experiencing for our products? So they are reviewing the floral category and they're looking at its perceived value and really trying to make the decision about the consumer's willingness to purchase at higher price points. Consolidation. We've all seen the trend of how farms are consolidating more. We're seeing less growing here in the US. So retailers are looking at options. How do they go directly to farms? Collaboration. During the pandemic, we have certainly seen with all the challenges it has brought, how very much more needed collaboration is across the supply chain. As strategies are being planned and developed, it becomes critical to have your partners in those discussions to ensure that things can be executed on. Next. We know retailers are open to having new vendors who can bring them new opportunities, products, services, and also to meet their high standards. And these standards do include distribution. Depending on the size of the retailer, you have to understand what's their distribution needs. Quality. Every retailer wants high quality and consistent product being brought to them. Differentiation. Every retailer wants to have unique offerings. And we know and understand that retail chains across the US are different. They have a unique target audience, brand, culture, organization, structure. So all that does lead to how do we have unique and differentiation between these? And then the whole thing about direct sourcing. There is a desire to start trying to deal more directly to ensure the freshness of the product. Next. Retailers also shared those attributes that they're looking for in a vendor. And first up was customer first mentality. Retailers want their suppliers to understand not only their organization, but also their culture. They want them to understand, what are we trying to do at our chain? What is our strategies? How can they be a partner to help execute that? And to think about their customer at the end and how to meet their needs. Reliability. We know during this pandemic, there's been a lot of problems with a tight market, but they are looking to see how their partners will be able to meet their needs through regular times, as well as those holiday dynamics that happen. And then last, it's about communication, being able to share what's going on, and whether it's the benefits of a product, but it's also what are the solutions it will help with, if there's going to be shortages or if there are certain problems, making sure you have that two-way communication going. And last, I did want to share with all of you that PMA will be releasing the end of September an update on our floral department benchmarks. This report was done in 2019, and we thought with the pandemic and how we've seen such growth and demand that we should look at those benchmarks again. So they will be released the end of September. And I did want to share two of those with you. So the average floral transaction is up 22% when we compare to what was going on in 2019. And we are also seeing the shrink for the floral department went down 1 percentage point. So that now roughly we're seeing an average of 9% for shrink in floral departments. So now I've shared with you all of those, some trends and some things going on within the floral industry. So now let's open it up and hear from our panelists. So we did share some questions with them so that they would know, so I won't be catching them totally cold. So how about we start with Richard first up to ask him, so how do you think either consumers or students or customers or just everyday people perceive chrysanthemum? Kind of share with us any kind of negatives or positive you think's going on out there around chrysanthemums.
Yes, Becky. Well, thanks first for the very nice overview of the market in the US. I think there are a lot of similarities with what is going on in the Netherlands, but I can say for sure that chrysanthemums are in general foreseen as a very nice flower because of the many different shapes and colors they have. Also, their very long vase life. But still in large parts of the Netherlands, it's also conceived as a kind of flower which is more connected to cemeteries and so on because of, let's say, what is it called? In November, you have the All Saints and All Hallows days where a lot of chrysanthemums are being traditionally set. But that's typically something for the older generations. I think when you look at the younger generations, then for sure chrysanthemum is one of the flowers they really appreciate. And I think that boils down to the fact that I noted down a number of things you mentioned. Collaboration is very important, and that's true for us as well. But on the other hand, in order to, let's say, deliver what the market is desiring or wants, well, we have to breed much faster than we did in the past. So we have to be able to deliver the flowers which, let's say, are more or less drawn on the drawing table by the consumers and by the chain, so that we can indeed deliver them as breeders. And that is something, we are, let's say, almost trying to get at this moment with all the developments there are. But I think it's also needed, especially also in view of the fact that sustainability and all kind of other things are becoming more and more important also, or maybe especially in the floral industry.
Thank you, Richard. So now let's turn to Paula from a wholesaler's perspective. What's your thoughts as far as what you're hearing for the image of chrysanthemums?
Well, hello everybody. I would have to agree with Richard. We will have to agree with Richard in this aspect. Chrysanthemums in general are perceived as long-lasting. The variety of colors that the consumer has to choose from is something that is well perceived as well, and that they are available year-round. That is something that is really important on our end. Also, in the old days, for sure, chrysanthemums were seen as a funeral type of flower. But these days, with the new varieties and the new textures and all the nice novelties that we have around, they have become part of the mainstream or the everyday work for us.
Thank you, Paula. Kate, how about, are you hearing much from consumers direct or from your people that are store level?
Yes, all the time.
So what's the feedback you're getting on chrysanthemums?
I would say I would agree with both what Richard and Paula said. I would say that they do definitely have a long-lasting value. While people are at home, definitely are a value item that it's not something that you have to buy every week because it does last longer than 7 days on your weekly grocery trip. I would say too that, as a specialty item, certain varieties that have the unique texture, color, when they're merchandised specifically in the stores to complement decor, that they're becoming more mainstream and more accepted by younger generations as part of their home decor. Again, as we had mentioned earlier, that people are home more often, so they're having time to enjoy the flowers that they purchased more, and of course the value that's there. So I would agree with everything else that has been said. We also do have them available all year round too. But I think with the change of seasons, customers are often surprised that they're able to see, so many vibrant colors available 5, 6, 7 times a year. And that also really entices customers to pick up a bunch or two.
Thank you. Jodan, some thoughts from you about chrysanthemums, anything you're hearing?
I think the only thing I would add to all of the excellent comments already made, from my perspective, I believe that the majority of our customers, especially the new customers we've gained through the pandemic, frankly, don't know enough about flowers to know. So we need to do a much better job of helping them understand the longevity, of these and help them embrace them. They just know that they're pretty and they're cool. For me, the bigger, frankly, obstacle or opportunity for us is our florists, the leaders of our businesses and our stores that have been maybe in the role for more than 15 or 20 years. And my perspective is that they are the ones that are more likely to see this flower as more of a funeral flower, to have a connotation of it that's based on the past and not based on the way our customers embrace it today. So I think it's as important for me and my leadership team to focus on helping our florists think about this flower differently and the ways that they can introduce it to our newest customers, as opposed to maybe not leaning in as hard because of their own perceptions about the flower. Maybe they don't love them as much as my customers actually love them.
Well, that leads perfectly into Andrea. So from your designer kind of aspect of things, tell me about what your thoughts are around chrysanthemums.
I am actually a huge fan of chrysanthemums. I will say I've been in the industry for 20 years. I have seen so many new colors come in that I get really excited to see things. I think the innovation is there. Yes, I think to some, they could be seen as sympathy flowers. We definitely, with all of our answers on this panel here, have a running theme, but the versatility, the color, the texture that they bring, I think they also they add a wonderful scale to us, having flowers available to us that have such a longevity factor around them is key, which is why chrysanthemums become top of mind. I think also in some of the larger ones, and there's a very happy vibe to them in some colors, and then you have your mellow, softer colors that are great for other occasions. So super versatile, and I actually have a great time designing with them.
Oh, thank you, Andrea. So Cristina, you in Colombia, do you have some thoughts you would like to share as the grower here?
Hello. Hello? Hello. I would have to agree with all of you. I think chrysanthemums are very versatile. They are very long-lasting. And what we have been seeing lately, especially at the Chrysanthemum Week, is that we get to see many varieties and colors and shapes. And the trends have been changing so much that we cannot think it's the same as funeral as they used to be before. I think we have many, many opportunities to do with chrysanthemums. And I mean, it's so difficult for us to choose, and that's what we want to bring to everyone, all the customers, the differences in the shapes and textures and colors, and also the fact that we get to do fall like not many other flowers can do. I think that's a great added value to us. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would certainly echo that. When I was down in 2019 for Chrysanthemum Week and listening to the conversations, it was very, very interesting to see the excitement that came across from everyone, to see the new varieties, colors, textures, everything that was going on. So I guess that leads really into our next questions around what are all of you seeing as far as chrysanthemums? What is trending up? Is there certain colors, sizes, shapes, textures, anything like that that you say, wow, if I had to go out on a limb there, here's where I think things are going. How about we start with Andrea, from your point as a designer?
I think we're seeing a lot of trends. I think we're seeing a lot of trends, like that they're trending up just because of their colors. I was actually in Colombia a couple weeks ago and got to see a lot of varieties that I don't see here. And I was like, I want all of these to create with. So I think there's opportunity here through the innovation to really make them even trendier, pairing them with really innovative color palettes. So I think to me, you know, it's size, it's texture, it's a lot of things that are so unique, and I think it's also one of the ways that chrysanthemums play a vital role in innovation. Unlike, you know, different maybe from some other flowers, I've seen so much innovation there that I want to bring them to the forefront of so many of our designs that we do carry throughout our different categories.
Thank you, Andrea. So Paula, from a wholesaler, are you hearing anything as far as anything's trending, certain colors or sizes or shapes?
Well, definitely the demanding color of the featured colors right now are peach, green, white, and we see a trend coming up on those featured colors. And we see a very big opportunity on the large-headed disc buds that had this shape of high-end featured flowers like dahlias and peonies that are seasonal in the United States, and that they're very difficult, and the current handling is so there are such delicate flowers that are very difficult to handle. So we see a great opportunity for chrysanthemums to step in this type of products. Also, as Cristina was mentioning, fall is always trending up for chrysanthemums. The palms and the disc buds get the actual tones and color shades required for the season. So it is always a feature season for chrysanthemums, and very important for the industry.
Thank you, Paula. Kate, anything from your perspective on any kind of trends around the colors, sizes, shapes, or varieties for chrysanthemums?
Yeah, so I would say the texture novelty varieties are the biggest impact that we have, and we call that out in one of our criteria of naming descriptions, so we can tell which have more of a novelty within, you know, things that go through the POS or register system. So I would say that's one of the others. And the other universal increase that we have seen since March of last year is year-round increase of all white varieties, whether they're you know, cushion novelty, but disc bud, the larger ones that Paula had talked about, or Andrea had said that they're using them in arrangements. But white seems to have really consistent 12 months of the year, which is really refreshing to see. I do think that some of that has to do with home decor, where people are putting it in their homes, and if they have monochromatic or a minimalist palette within their homes, you know, things will kind of go with everything. And then, of course, we also have on the other spectrum, we have people that love really bright colors. So, you know, I would say that there is, those are kind of the consistent that we've kind of had in the mainstay. But the biggest like changes that we have definitely seen is anything that has, it's all white, or anything that has really novel texture.
Thank you. Jodan, from your perspective, have you seen any or heard anything from your team about any trends around chrysanthemums?
I was first say that Kate really nailed it. I do think that white continues to be a very dominant trend that we see across all channels. What I would say is I think there's a tremendous opportunity right now. And so I'm talking to growers that perhaps are now trying to make plans for next year or 2 or 3 years from now. But the opportunity right now is the fact that we are in such short supply overall. And especially, I think, in event work and in some of those channels, that honestly, we're at a place more than we ever have been able to talk to customers about, let me find, put together something that's in the vein of what you're looking for and the style of what you're looking for. But they're much more open to the florist having a say in, I can do this for you at the right budget, or I can do this for you with this flower, and I'm not going to be able to do peonies for you for that wedding that you saw on Pinterest, but I can do something very similar for you with this variety of chrysanthemum. And maybe you have, the bridal bouquet is peonies, but everything else is actually a very nice textured chrysanthemum that pairs well with it. So I think we have a lot of opportunity right now for growers who are growing chrysanthemums to be able to lean in, because you can grow crops faster than some of the other crops that are out there, and you can fill gaps better. The other thing I would say is that, I'm blessed here at HEB. We're in Texas, and we serve pretty much all types of Texans. And so, we do see a huge variation in trend across the different customer types we serve. If you go to the Valley of Texas, our lower income Hispanic population has a much different color palette they're looking for than a uber, very wealthy customer in the Tanglewood neighborhood of Houston. And so, I think many of us retailers see opportunities for a broad spectrum of different items in this category, depending on the stores we're going to be sending them to.
Thank you, Jodan. Richard, from your perspective, are you at the university and the academia world, what are you hearing around chrysanthemums? Anything trending from that side?
Well, I think it was already mentioned by amongst others, Kate, that green ones and what we call pompons are very much in demand. And I think also the fact that you can make, let's say, chrysanthemums to almost resemble different kinds of flowers like the dahlias, which was mentioned, so that they are more able to be used in flower bouquets or arrangements. I think that is something which even is going further. And I think for that, chrysanthemum is a very good flower.
Thank you. And Cristina, anything from your perspective from the grower are you hearing as far as trending?
Hello. I think we can see different colors now than we saw like 3-4 years ago, or at least we're willing to take more risk, making different colors available to the market. And I think those colors are catching up with the public. I mean, we see that we have vintage colors now. We have a lot more bicolors and things like that. And we see that demand is increasing. When I started, not many years ago, actually, there was, basically it was very plain. I mean, but now we see different shapes, different colors, and we see that the customers are willing to take the risk with us. So I think there is a big change, and they are trending now.
Thank you. So some of you have talked about the benefits, the long lasting, and the ability to fill some of those gaps where we've either been shortage or trying to fill where the particular flower doesn't last as long. So how would you at this point think we should highlight those benefits? How do we make sure consumers are aware of this and that, this is something that really would help sell chrysanthemums? So any of you have ideas around how we get to the people, our general people, or the consumers about these benefits? So let's see, let's start with Paula. Do you have any thoughts from your end? I know you're not necessarily always in direct contact with consumers, but what would you suggest?
Definitely chrysanthemums give give us a higher value than a typical basic flower. Per insertion in a bouquet or in a vase or anything, it creates more bulk. So other than that, I think that is a very important aspect to the chrysanthemums. You have not only the big-headed despots, but we also have the sprays that create a larger volume in the vase. So I think that is something really important to highlight, not only with our retailers, but with final consumers. Also, palms have a lot of foliage that can be used in different ways that you don't need to buy additional products to fill the vases.
Thank you. Let's see, Richard, from your end, what do you usually typically tell your students about some of the benefits, and are they surprised?
Well, I think it has already been mentioned, the extreme long vase life. Sometimes you even have to throw them away because they're still okay, but they lost, for instance, all their leaves. And I think that's something also what we are investigating in research, to see that vase life, both of flowers and of leaves, is more synchronous, and that you have a flower which indeed is connected to nice leaves as well. And I think that is that is one of the issues we're really investigating and trying to get our finger behind, so that we can dictate and can direct what we want to have for the flowers.
Thank you. Andrea, from your design perspective, what would you say, we really need to be making sure consumers or the public kind of understands about chrysanthemums?
I think chrysanthemums are unique in the way that they can go across. You can create a very modern design with them. You could create something that's just low and compact, and to use a lot of chrysanthemums in that. You can tuck them in, you can use them in garden style bouquets. I think they kind of run the gamut. They can go all the way across from very modern to loose and gardeny, to also being able to include them even in unique colors or some of our simpler white colors in sympathy, as we've talked about. They work well in a lot of different pieces, but they also, just because of the wonderful texture, they provide a great background and also like a focal point. So they're versatile in that way. So I think they are underused in many ways. So this is a great conversation to have about them.
And is that more directed at the design instead of the consumer?
I think the consumers know, but they can understand if you're looking for something in a certain price point, if you're looking for something, you can give them that versatility with using chrysanthemums across all kinds of price points. So yes, they can it can be looked at from both a consumer and from a designer perspective. Okay. But definitely, I know a lot of designers that love to use them. And I think that, in times they provide a very unique texture that a lot of other flowers cannot do. And also you think about it in terms of scale. You have, some of your disc buds. You also have, button palms. There's so many different ways that you can incorporate them together from a design perspective across multiple different types of styles. For all different age groups as well.
There you go.
So not just limited to one there. I think they're there's a place for them in so many places.
Yep. Kate, anything from your perspective about kind of sharing all these benefits? Do you think it's worth our efforts there to connect with consumers about this?
I do, because again, I think just as Andrea had said, that it really does cross generations, that it's multi-generational and should not necessarily, if we thought of them as flowers, for sympathy or a tribute, they don't have to be just that they can be multi-generational and for everyday use. I would say, of course, the extended vase life is fantastic appeal. I would also say that if there was a way to channel, through social media or strong opinions with customers, customer facing on a new campaign that would be, why chrysanthemums, or did you know, or whatever it might be that might be sponsored, where people would be able to direct and understand that they can be grown for the season, that they're constantly being trialed, that there's new and innovative things like Richard had mentioned. They're trying to establish that foliage will last longer. I do think customers that are new to chrysanthemums will probably really enjoy that. And anyone that is trying to, make arrangements at their house and they pick multiple bunches up, which again is a fantastic option because it is a value item that you can do in a consumer bunch category. I think customers would be very interested in that. And I had written down that social media is a really strong option to share that information with customers.
Thank you, Kate. So, John, anything to add from your perspective about what we can do there to kind of ramp up the benefit and information out there to consumers?
I'll try to get on my soapbox here. Becky, you just teed up. You just in a baseball practice just threw the pitch straight across the plate for me. I've been a volunteer leader at the PMA for a decade now, and the reason I'm a volunteer leader with the association is because of my opinion that we as an industry need to come together to market our industry to consumers. I strongly believe that we've seen the benefit of the pandemic as customers that have never shopped flowers before because they just don't think of flowers, are now approaching our category. But the fact is that for everyone that is now shopping with us, there is 4 others that have never, ever purchased or given flowers in their life. Over half of Americans have never purchased flowers before. So while we're all saying the pandemic has been a huge benefit for us, and we've all been for years saying, why won't American consumers buy like consumers in the Netherlands or in Great Britain? We're seeing that, but we come nowhere near tapping that culture in America yet. And so I strongly believe that direct marketing, the benefits of flowers, whether it's any flower, but especially chrysanthemums, because then I think about what we see resonating with millennial and especially Gen Z customers. What we see is they love authentic stories, and they love to have them served via social media. They also love items that are easy to care for, that will perform for them every single time. And so if you see the potted plant categories, you see orchids and succulents exploding because the customers feel safe. The younger customers know that it's a safe investment. When you look at fresh cut flowers, chrysanthemums are right there at the top, right? Maybe alstroemeria there with them as being flowers that every time they buy them, it'll be low cost and they will perform for them. And so there are huge stories we could be telling, but we need to, in my opinion, come together and market to the consumer directly because everyone else is, and we need our share of their thoughts.
Well said. Thank you, Jordan. And certainly you are talking to the right industry here to say we need to start thinking about how we all come together. It is going to take the whole village to try to get something like that going. So thank you for those thoughts. Cristina, any thoughts from you?
Well, aside from everything that everyone has said, which is affordable, long-lasting, beautiful and elegant, I think one of the things that make it better is that we can follow trends a lot easier than other flowers. And that's an added value to the chrysanthemum.
Well said, well said. So next up, let's look a little bit here about, has there been any negative thoughts around chrysanthemums? Is there any problems or anything that you've heard from consumers or your customers about chrysanthemums? And if there was there a solution or things that you did to try to mitigate? So let's start with, let's see, how about Paula? Did you have any complaints or any problem come up with any of your customers around chrysanthemums?
Well, primarily, I think that the basic complaint is inconsistent availability, especially of newer varieties or specific hot items. And more than a complaint, I think that we're running through a dilemma here with this breeding flowers, flowerings, and social media broadcasting. And it is the time that actually takes from a new variety to come into production. So it is very disappointing for our customers to see this beautiful new variety that is not going to be available for the next 2 years or the next season. So right now, we as wholesalers, we are the villains. We are the ones that have to put the face to the consumer and say, yes, it is beautiful. You are seeing this amazing new variety, but it's not going to be available until next season. Or sometimes even it is available, but only in such small quantities that it's ridiculous for us to just buy it. In a large event, let's say an event maker is going to require at least 2,500 to 3,000 stems of one of these beautiful new disc buds like these, like for example, that big large head frittata peach variety, and we can get probably 200, 300 tops. So for us, it's not possible. So it is like as you know, the new trend is immediacy. Is we need everything now. We want everything now. So that is challenging, and that is a problem. So sometimes we get away from promoting new varieties basically because of that. So I think that we need to work together as an industry to explain, to educate customers, and see this an equation as of potential versus disappointing, because you could have a potential very good variety, but if you're disappointing your customer today, it is not going to be a good item for the next season.
So Richard, I'll come to you as far as thinking about the commercialization and some of those things around breeding. Anything from your end that you would want to say as far as moving forward on some of those kind of challenges?
Well, what I don't get complaints from customers, so that's good. But as a customer of also chrysanthemums, I was amazed when I the first time learned that a lot of the white chrysanthemums are being colored. And I thought, well, why is this happening? Because there are, like we already discussed, there are so many natural colors and so many different types. So why do you need to color them? And that's something where I would say, I understand that in the UK and also in the US, that's quite popular. In the Netherlands, it is absolutely not. But yeah, I would say that in terms of sustainability and all those kind of things, that the coloring would be something where I would say, well, forget about it. At the same time, I also understand that that's quite a large portion of the market still.
Thank you. So Cristina, as a grower, talk to us a little bit about those challenges of bringing the new commercial kind of varieties and products to market.
Well, for us, it's actually very difficult, I would have to say. One of the things that happens is, okay, we come to these breeder shows every year. We see beautiful varieties. We want them. The client said, I want this. We want to try them, but we need to make sure that they're going to work at our farm. The condition in which we see the flowers in the different breeders is not the same that we have at the farms. So then, making decisions is difficult. But then once we bring the variety to the farm, we need to make trials. And before we can make sure that it will be available for customers, it does take a long time. We would love for it to be faster. And sometimes we plead to the breeders and we say, please, I need more cuttings. I need them. And they're like, no, we can't. Because it's not as simple as it is in Holland, where you just get them all ready, set up. For us, we have to go through the whole process, and it's very difficult. So we would love sometimes to be able to bring flowers, new varieties to the public sooner, but it's not that simple to us. I mean, we do find problems sometimes, and it's tough. But it's not 2 years, like Paula says. I think it's a little bit less, but it's not simple. We do have our differences between sometimes, can you please make it faster? It's not easy, but we try. We all try to do our best.
Thank you. So Kate, anything from your perspective on any kind of complaints you've heard from end consumers or anything from your team?
So we did have the challenge of not having enough white when the white in the mixed cases was arriving, and this was probably last summer, that the demand for white had picked up. So we communicated with suppliers, found out what was potentially available, and created item codes, mixed cases, and then full cases for white for those regions. So that was a problem that was, pretty easily remedied to be solved. I would say that's pretty much the basis for communication. Of course, everyone wants the new and gorgeous varieties. So whether it's white or this time of year, if it's a beautiful burgundy or something like that, then of course that's communication with the suppliers. And that's how we would solve those complaints that are coming from customers. Why can't I have more white in my box, et cetera? And so I would say in that point, there would be the stores asking for more white because their customers would be asking for more white when they're purchasing. I would say the other, that you had mentioned transportation challenges, and it really hasn't been said this clearly yet, but, logistical challenges limit sales when the product misses its connection at the distribution center and it's not on the sales floor, right? And that is a paramount problem. So we are constantly working on how to solve that because things change and now we have less drivers in the US. Before we had, civil unrest in South America. So it has been definitely a fresh perspective for all of us to look for different methods of transportation and for us to change arrival dates, look at consolidations, to load from different areas to ship to different areas, right? So, but working with transportation teams and monitoring when we can revise purchase orders and communicate to distribution teams in order to let them know something is late and that we would love for them to accept the arrival in order to get the product on their stores. That's the biggest complaint is that, and again, a lot of US customers, and I think around the world too, have had rations or limits on what they can purchase. And I think the dream will be when everyone in America is buying flowers and there'll be a limit. You can only buy one bunch of chrysanthemums, but we're not there yet. But hopefully we would be someday. But I know that it is a definite complaint when something is out of stock in our departments. And so that's what how I read that question. And it's something that we work with communicating and really troubleshooting in order to make sure that problem is solved.
Thank you. So Andrea, from a designer perspective, anything from you that you would say, oh, here's where my biggest challenge is around chrysanthemums?
My biggest challenge with them is the availability. I think that's my biggest call out. Creating designs, we have 8,000 florists in our network and we design original designs and they are all, to replicate them. And if we put a red disbud in and there just aren't enough around, we have constant substitution issues in our designs. So for us, it becomes the availability of just guaranteeing that we can get enough of the same product. So innovation is amazing, but the availability of like some really core items, if we don't have them, it's pretty detrimental to our business and to particular designs because we sell things online, and if we sell it to someone and it should be hand delivered by your local florist with such and such, the red disbuds and, other tones of burgundies or butterscotch, cushion palms, and it doesn't make it there in that color, it's a problem for us. So substitution is big. And the closest oftentimes we will come to it from a substitution on a disbud is a dahlia, and there aren't enough of those grown either. But they also just don't have the same lifespan. So it's a really, it's more than one loss there when we can't get them.
Jordan, from your team or you, have you heard of any complaints around chrysanthemums that you've heard about?
No, honestly, I think everybody's already pretty much covered anything that I would have shared. We are, I think what they've said is absolutely right. Right now, our challenges are to keep up and to try to get ahead of it. And I don't think personally that's going to all of a sudden shift gears differently. And so I'm sure that's a conversation coming up, but we need to get caught up and stay ahead of this and then continue to drive it, in my opinion. But no, I don't have anything else to add specifically around complaints around chrysanthemums.
Okay. So there are questions around is the importance of having chrysanthemums in your overall product mix. And I know this pretty much has been talking from the people that are dealing with the end consumers, but certainly we can talk from people in general if they're hearing about how important chrysanthemums are. So let's start with Andrea. Can you talk about how important you think about chrysanthemums overall in your product mix that you're making and doing?
I think they're very important because I think they're recognizable to people. I think, and that comes down to it, as being a super important part about them. I think it's some of the, it's some of the unique colors. They're just, and it's also the size, like the big size of the blooms. I think those are the types of things that are important, that make up why we want to put them into designs. Like we want them to be the focal flower. We have a 7-day guarantee. We want them to last. The core items are recognizable, color, base life, and the versatility on them.
Thank you. So Paula, how about you from a wholesaler? How important is the chrysanthemum in your product mix?
For us, pretty much in our supermarket division, chrysanthemums combining sprays and biscuits are 10 to 12% of our product line. In the wholesale business, they are around 5%. And if you do a ranking of flowers, chrysanthemums are number 5 top product that we buy. So overall, it's a very important product line for us, and it's in our everyday buys.
Thank you. So Richard, when you're thinking about the breeding aspect, how important do you see chrysanthemums in the breeding operations, especially over there in the Netherlands?
Well, as one of the very important ornamental crops, also as an example of a polyploid crop, that is the breeding in polyploid crops is much more difficult than in diploid crops. So in that sense, that's very important and very useful. We have a lot to learn still, but it is also a very nice example for a lot of other crops which are polyploid. So in that sense, we try to go to a situation where we can, let's say, solve some of the problems which are already mentioned here. On the other hand, I should say you are very fortunate to work with chrysanthemum, because if you were working with apples, it would be even more difficult to get something which is, let's say, fast on the market. So everything I think is relative, but I see, of course, your points of view. And what we are trying to do is, in fact, to, let's say, create on the drawing table, behind the computer, the perfect chrysanthemum, which will be able to grow in a particular way, so that you don't have these issues with, let's say, trying to have different growers to get the feel for the particular variety, so that it then does well. And so, but we are not there yet, unfortunately. But that's something we're aiming for sure, because linked to, let's say, the sustainability issues, so no, more insect-resistant varieties and things like that. That is very important for the future, and that are things we're focusing on. And for that, chrysanthemum is a very nice example. And I think the other issue, chrysanthemum, of course, is a vegetatively propagated crop, which has its advantages, but also disadvantages. And I think one of the trends is to see whether crops can be made into seed crops much faster, because then transport and all kind of other things are relatively more simple. Of course, not for the finished product, but for the first lines.
Thank you, Richard. So Kate, from your perspective, what's the relevance of the chrysanthemum in your product mix? You're on mute.
Thank you. They're primarily, they're in our consumer bunch category in bunch flowers, aligning with data hierarchy, and they're a year-round item. We do offer enhanced bunches at holidays or when there's a change of season. But I would say that they're, they definitely have a stronghold in the core list of all the departments year-round.
Thank you. And Jodan, for your team there at HEB and Blooms?
They're critical for us, not only because they're such a big part of our consumer bunch business, but also, we have been a retailer that's guaranteed the vase life of our flowers for well over a decade now. And the challenge with that, of course, is we want to give our customers the flowers that last the very longest. But many of the other flower types that we'll use in our in-store created hand-tied bouquets or vase arrangements, or in the retail-ready bouquets, of course, which are a big part of our business. Many of the other flowers, of course, whenever we, at the cut point, we put them on display, are not open yet. And so the chrysanthemum plays such a huge part in providing focal flowers that are bright and ready, seasonally relevant in those bouquets or in our finished goods that get that pop of color for the customer when they shop. And then hopefully, of course, over the following 7 to 10 days, they see the other focal flowers open up. And that process of seeing the flowers perform as a bouquet is so huge for our customers. They want to see that life cycle across the entire time. But without the chrysanthemum, it's really hard to give that full pop of color at the beginning. And what's great is they last for the whole time as well. So incredibly important for us across all channels, not just because we're a bunch, but really all of our fresh flower categories. And again, becoming more and more important in event work because in many cases, we can hit a budget with them much more easily as a percentage of the work compared to the flowers that may be the cool kids of the block on Pinterest, but aren't available, or 60% of our customers really can't afford more than 5 stems of them.
Right, right. So Cristina, from your perspective as a grower, hearing from your customers how important the chrysanthemum is in their product mix?
Well, we have many different types of customers. So for some, they're like 50% of the volume, some are 5%, 12%. It changes because we have a wide variety of customers, wholesalers, retailers. I mean, it's not something I can define, basically.
Okay.
But for the farm, it's 100%, and I wish it was 120% if there was more productivity in the plant.
Thank you. So next we want to talk a little bit about bringing new products in and kind of like hearing about what's some of the criteria or what's some of the reasons why to bring in new products. So let's start with Andrea. When you're thinking about bringing something new in, is there any kind of rhyme or reason that you'd be able to share with the audience today?
Bringing something new in, we design for seasons, we design for occasions. So that's one of the biggest important things we think about. And we think about what sentiment does this give to the end consumer? Why would someone buy it? Why would someone love to receive it? Whether we're capturing seasonal colors, that's important. Is like we talk about to keep things current. Especially we're going into fall, so fall for me is top of mind. So that is something that we think about immensely when we start to concept and how can we bring that story to life through the beauty of flowers.
Thank you. So Richard, when you're hearing about different breeders looking at different varieties, can you share with any things that they're discussing or reasons that they're moving in a certain direction to develop some kind of new products?
Well, like I said, one of the issues which is very important is the ban on pesticides and all those kind of things. So looking for inherent or intrinsic resistance to pests and pathogens is very important. That's an ongoing battle. The other thing is people always like what they don't have. So there is still, let's say, the urge or the need to look for blue chrysanthemums, which are not around. But so that's still something where, let's say, with new technologies in breeding and so on, people are now asking, okay, can you make a blue chrysanthemum? Well, we're looking into that, but that's also not easy.
Thank you. So Cristina, when you're bringing in something new to grow, what kind of things are you thinking about? What kind of plays in your mind and ways to kind of get something grown or not?
It's a difficult situation. I mean, as we see many varieties and we take chances. We just like jump and say, okay, let's go to this trend. Maybe we'll try vintage and see how the customers will react. We start doing it little by little. And what happens is that after we make that big decision and we start introducing a new variety, then what Paula says happens. And it's customers start wanting the product, and we are not able, to have all the one that is needed. But sometimes you also take chances, and you start with a different variety, and then no one wants it. Or you go into like Flora, and then you have this beautiful vase arrangement, and everyone is like, I love this, I want it, I want it, I want it. And then you're sitting on the other side waiting for the orders to come, and they take longer than you would expect. So it's not simple, but I would say that we have been taking more chances lately and introducing new varieties.
Thank you. So Jordan, on your team, or you start bringing in something new, what's some of the things that your team's discussing or thinking about?
I think we all probably are enamored with the new, and especially those that come from a design side are really enamored with new. I've got a couple of thoughts on this, and they are, number one, I think all too often what I see in our channel is that something new, again, we know that the grower has to build up that production over time, and they can't just flip a switch and have a bunch of a specific item day one. But what I think I see more often than I would love to see is that as they're growing the new variety, if it's not sought after by the FTD designers or the event designers, in which case, they're buying them wholesale and paying the money for the stem. Otherwise, they're blended in with the consumer bunch programs, which means we're paying the same cost for that as we are for the more standard varieties that we receive every day. So we're not giving the grower the benefit of the work and the uniqueness of that item, nor are we taking credit with our customers and calling out to our customer, look at this amazing new thing. And yes, it costs $2 more a bunch, but you can't find it anywhere else. And so I think the more we can work together to market and bring items that are new and unique to the market as new and unique when they get into our channel, and take that premium for them, and therefore give that premium in the customer's mind, the better, as opposed to you blend them in, and so nobody's really happy. The grower's not happy because they're getting the same price per stem as everything else. The store leader, the florist is like looking in every box. Am I going to get one? They can't promise them to their customers because they're not sure what's going to be in the mix. So that's the first thing. The second thing I just want to throw out there is I truly believe that in the future, data and true information sharing from us and our customers, especially as we digitize more and more of our business, all the way back to the grower, is going to be a huge resolution for this issue. Because today, in my channel, everything is blended, according to a pack, a sleeve, and a UPC. And in many cases, UPCs are by a grower because we want to know who it came from, those sorts of things. And so, but the systems are there, right? It's up to us to adopt the systems as rapidly as they become cheap enough to adopt and begin to share information at a much more granular level. We need to get to a place where I know exactly what varieties are going to be in that mixed box that's arriving for me, that I'm shipping to the florist, so that I can show exactly those varieties online, so my florists know what they're going to have, and us real time give that data back to the grower of how each variety is selling. When we get to that level of information sharing, which is coming faster than we think it is, as the power of algorithms, the power of our computers, the power of 5G, and we now have much more connectivity in every single store, every customer shopping with their phone in hand with an app, whether they're in store or out. So I think that's going to break a lot of these old challenges we faced when it comes to production, and especially to harnessing the power of the new.
Absolutely. And certainly, we've been working very hard to see how we can get that data to keep that and going down that path, because we do know how crucial and important data can be to help with decision and planning. So Paula, what's your thoughts? Anything when you bring in new things, new items, how your team works through that kind of process?
Well, besides the typical and the obvious things like demand, shelf life, seasonality of colors, good value, price, etc., I think that as wholesalers we have to view and revise our cooler space in the same way as a supermarket does. So right now, one of the challenges that we have is that the top movers or the hot items are the ones getting the spots in our coolers. For instance, right now we have probably 9 to 14 different varieties of white pumps. If we want to buy all, but we can't. We probably can afford buying 2, probably 3, but it is impossible for us to feed them all. So we need to understand what is the value, the cost, and the price, the overall equation of the product to see what new varieties are available and important to us to include in our product line.
Thank you. So now let's kind of jump a little bit around and see, we'll get all of you to be thinking about what do you think today's floral consumer is like? So we know demand has been up, so we've got some new purchasers, new people buying flowers. So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on what do you think that consumers like? So Richard, how about you? I don't know whether you can share. I know in the Netherlands has probably been there is no new ones. You guys have been buying flowers for centuries. So any thoughts around what do you think that today's consumer of flowers is like?
Well, I think that like in the beginning already was mentioned also by you, that for flowers in general, the last 2 years were in fact quite okay. Some people were talking about the fact that they had Mother's Day every week because it was going so well. On the other hand, you also see that the more traditional way of selling the flowers in Europe on markets, well, completely disappeared in some countries, like Germany, for instance. So I think that yes, online is certainly something which let's say is booming. We have in the Netherlands a few things which is quite well, I wouldn't call it directly vase life, but it's interesting. It's a kind of flowers which are put in your mailbox, and then you can put them on water, and they will stand up erect and will take water and will make a small bouquet of flowers. There are still 10 stems in there, so that's quite interesting. But that's not to my liking, maybe to other people. But you can send it to someone as a kind of nice gift. So in that sense, I think that there are many more new ways of let's say getting flowers to the people, and I think that's very good. Yeah.
Absolutely, but you're definitely seeing much more invention around that. So Andrea, what do you think today's consumer of flowers is like? Can you describe what you think a typical would be?
I think it's the consumer is looking for a big impact. I think they're looking for something that's like great, straight out of the box. This is impressive. I think that there's not a lot of, sometimes people don't have as much patience. So they're looking for something that's like a wow factor right off the bat. And so I think they're not waiting necessarily for things to open, whether it's anything from a lily to a mini carnation. They want something big and impactful. They want also things that add a wonderful scent to their homes. I think that that's important too. So I think they're thinking about what is that? Is it earthy? Does it have a mossy smell? Is it like a fragrance, like a something that brings them back to another time, that has strong rose scents or floral scents, maybe oriental undertones of like something that's a little bit spicier. So I think that they're looking for something that's going to just bring a smile to their face, and it comes through a couple of different ways.
Absolutely. I think research keeps saying that it does put a smile on their face. It does bring them happiness. It brings them joy. So Paula, what about your thoughts about today's, what do you think today's floral buyer kind of look or describe to us?
Well, definitely we're seeing a trend for self-consumption, people spending more time at homes and bringing the office home and all that has created the need to bring floral beauty into their houses. So we're seeing that. We're seeing also that gift giving has increased. Flowers are now part of gift giving, like for birthdays, anniversaries, and other holidays, and not specifically the featured flower holidays as Valentine's and Mother's Day. So I think that that's pretty much what we're seeing, and they want product ready, product easy to use, and that is long lasting, and that they can continue to see it and without getting bored.
Very much so. Kate, what's your thoughts? Any things around what you're seeing from what sales are going through that you can kind of get a typical consumer?
Yes, and I think there's some different trends out there for sure. I mean, the customer shopping habits have definitely changed since last March, where people started shopping during the week instead of on the weekends. And then, of course, there's the online or curbside type shopper. And I think also that a lot of people are picking up flowers, with their weekly grocery shop, which again is atypical to the U.S. Shopper. And it's a great trend to see that they need bread, milk, eggs, and flowers. So that really helps, I think, across the basket share, and then also just the number of bunches that we're seeing. I would also say that in-store customers, I think, have a trend from what we're seeing, that they're looking either for, as Paula had mentioned, like self-care, looking for happiness, the immediate impact of something that's going to brighten their day. Things are a little, the pressure is mounting for whatever reason, and using that as self-care as a motivation to purchase flowers for themselves. And then on the flip side, I also agree that we are seeing the customers are more inclined, and this is across all demographics, male and female, they're more inclined to gift flowers, knowing the recipient's going to be home more often to enjoy them. So that is, I would say, probably the most added new category that chrysanthemums also do have a play in that, because we do put them into arrangements at the store levels, right? And then they can be delivered or picked up and taken to someone's home. And I would say that is a big area that we have noticed that consumers are gifting more.
Yeah, and certainly I love that concept of thinking that flowers are now on the grocery list. We've been a long time trying to strive to get to that point, and so glad to hear that you're starting to see that. So Jodan, from your perspective, what are you hearing from you and your team around what's today's floral consumer look like?
I personally believe, and many of the folks that I spend time with in the industry believe, that the pandemic is creating a culture shift that's on the same scale as World War II had, on the same scale, and probably maybe even greater scale than September 11th had, and it has changed our culture. And so I think, and the great news for us is that all of those impacts have led customers to really desire our products in a different way. I believe that we're seeing so many trends today that are coming out of this. Self-care is part of it, nesting at home and ensuring that you're living differently at home. But you're seeing now, I actually posted something on LinkedIn today about the Great Resignation, and the fact that we have a massive cohort of workers in the United States that are either resigning their jobs or contemplating resigning their jobs and looking for different types of work that's less stressful, looking for jobs that are more fulfilling, looking to shift their actual lifestyles to more fulfillment. And I think you see this in RV sales. You see this in the people trying to live outdoors, and all of those macro trends that I think we're going to see for generations, at least a generation, because of the impact of this pandemic and the way it changed our life, are all benefiting our overall customer desire to buy our products. And so I continue to see it in my business. We just went through the last 8 weeks of record level vacation, and we still are seeing high levels of vacation in our consumers and in our workers. because they built up so much vacation over so much time. And even with Delta variant, people need to take their vacation. But right before we got back to school, we had 8 weeks of really record levels of people going on vacation. And 4 years ago, that was when we hit the summer slump, right? That we felt that as customers stopped celebrating at home. But what I saw in my business was no decline whatsoever. It shifted. As Kate said, the day of the week shifted. We saw things shift during those heavy vacation weeks to Sunday shopping when they were refilling their fridge. But guess what? They also bought flowers. And so at the same time, I would say that, social media is feeding this as well. But we still have a big chunk of customers that haven't found us yet.
Absolutely.
We still have more growth ahead of us, in my opinion. So I'm extremely optimistic about this. I believe that if I were in a grower's shoes, I would be planting heavier, because I don't believe that we're going to see a massive shift back. I don't think there is a back. I think we are going to continue to see strong demand. And if we market effectively, if we continue to help our customers share stories with each other and with friends that are like them that maybe haven't really started to change their lifestyle at home with flowers, or give a small floral piece to somebody for whatever reason and not just for the key holidays, I think we're only going to see stronger demand. And so that's my perspective, is we are the cool kids and we need to take advantage of that today.
Absolutely. Keep this momentum going for sure. So Cristina, we know that consumption's up here in the US and over in Europe, and certainly we're hearing that consumption's up in Colombia. So from your perspective, have you hear or see kind of what does the consumer down there in Colombia look like for flowers?
Well, I think in Colombia, the consumer has also changed. I see many of the other farms that are selling their product in Colombia now. And for what I see with my friends and relatives, I mean, it's changing. Colombian people are appreciating more flowers and are getting to see different flowers, because we only got the worst. I'm sorry to say that, but we export everything. People here don't get to see the wide variety that we have. So the trend has changed. And for us, it has been very difficult to keep up with the demand because it's been really high. And you guys are doing a great job, and I hope you keep doing it so we can keep sales up the way they are. So I think it's been great for all of us. It's the well-being of the flowers, I think.
Very much so. So our last question here. So we know that consumers have, really started to embrace our product. From your perspective, do you think that they have a good understanding about care and handling? And if so, why? And if not, what should we be doing to help get consumers up to speed? So let's see, how about Richard? What's your thoughts? And I know you probably can't speak for the States, but and probably a whole different story over there in the Netherlands. Care and handling in your country.
I think Joe Don expressed it very good in a way that a lot of people don't know how to treat flowers. So if you have a strong flower and you put it on water and it stays, then that's already, let's say, a big advantage. But I think that indeed the florists can learn a lot, or can teach the buyers quite a lot on how to deal with the flowers. And there is quite some information, of course, on the internet on how to do it, etc. And I think more people are using internet quite easily in that way. So I think that kind of information will help certainly to indeed appreciate flowers better and rebuy flowers, because they indeed last 1 week. And no one is, let's say, annoyed when after 1 week you have to throw them away, which is, let's say, a contrast with the potted plants, which you expect to last at least a couple of months. So I think there is a lot to be gained with good information on, let's say, simple treatments of flowers, on how to do it. And if you have the pre-bought flower bouquets, then I think in some cases the florists who are selling it or delivering it, they should pay a bit more care to how they deliver it, because that also impacts, of course, how long they will be on the vase.
No, well, thank you, Richard. Let's see, Cristina, from your perspective as a grower, do you think today's consumer has enough understanding about the care and handling? And if so, why or why not?
Actually, I don't think there's enough knowledge about it. What we do sometimes, I mean, and I would say it was me before I started in the business, what we know is what we knew from the grandmothers. And you put some sugar and you put some Clorox and then everything is done. You don't have to do anything. And, you don't know how often do you have to change it. I mean, there's a lot of information that you just been handed down from families, but you really don't know much about it. And if we teach the people, then we can get a better product and they'll be more satisfied.
Thank you. Kate, from your perspective, do you think your consumers have enough information or knowledge around care and handling, and there are other things we could be doing?
Well, I would say that they know where to look for it, and I don't think they have enough knowledge. But I think that the internet is a valid resource, online resource for many of our customers on a daily habit, or they'll ask their device to tell them what the heck do I do with this. So I think I don't think though that customers truly do. Thankfully, the team members at our stores, the florists, the managers in the departments, team members all throughout the store definitely would try to help, when there was a question posed. But I really feel that, especially with the technology, I think a lot of people really look it up online and say what to do with it. Not sure about if the people still put the sugar packets in the bleach in. But I do know a lot of people still wonder, cut them on an angle or not. And do I have to really change the water or do I have to add water? Things like that. So yes, but I don't think they're educated enough.
Yeah. Well, I often wonder if they're overwhelmed because it seems like what do I do? What do you want me to do? So Paula, what's your thoughts? You think we need to do more there?
Definitely. There's enough information out there, but I think this needs to be a continued effort and a continued industry effort. I think it has to go from the farm up to the retailers, to the wholesalers, across the board. It is not enough. And the more comfortable you feel with the flower or the care and handling, the more likely you're gonna go back and buy again, because now it's not scary. It's something that is easy to do, and I think that we have to remove the fear of or the overwhelm of what do you have to do with this. And the example of the succulents and the potted plants that was mentioned before, it's pretty much basically removing that fear away. You don't have to do anything. The plant will be there for months, and that is the beauty of it. But with flowers, you can have the same or very similar effect because it's very easy, but you just have to make it easy and like a dummy proof. And this is a continuous effort, as I said, of all the industry. So yes, there is information, but I think that we have to continue working on this.
Very, very much. How about you, Andrea? What's your thoughts?
I still think I would agree I'm here with the rest of the panel that consumers just don't know. And also, I think too, as we've seen such a growth spurt in just the number of flowers that are sold in this country, we have new consumers and new buyers that have never purchased flowers before. So this is brand new to them and they have no idea. So you might have some tenured ones that have experienced it, but it's an ongoing process. It's also by us sharing that knowledge of how, where to go to find the information, will make it easier for them. And it won't be, not just a challenge, but they won't be intimidated by the process. So I think that's like, hey, let's take it easy. Let's break it down into a couple of easy steps. And if you've got this, you're on the right track.
Absolutely. Jordan? Anything from your perspective about the care and handling? As today's consumers really up on it, or do we need to do more there?
More. I agree with what everybody else is saying that, the more, the better. Approaching our customers where they live, which is typically social media, definitely digitally. I think our florists, we do a tremendous amount of work to teach our florists to be able to give that training. But the fact is that the vast majority of the customers are grabbing flowers and going and aren't interacting, especially for the everyday use. And they're really looking for the information digitally and online. So it kind of goes back, I would bookend it back to my conversation earlier about marketing. The great news is that it's less expensive than ever to create really great content and to distribute great content. But at the same time, we're all more fractured than ever in our time, right? And so I would just say that every single one of us in the industry needs to pull together, and all of us need to become marketers, both with care and handling information and tips, ways, usage information, cool ways to know how to cut for a vase or how to design, or cool ideas of other ways to use our products. But we really desperately need to come together and deliver that content, and it will take all of us to do it effectively enough for it to really resonate and grow. But by doing that all together, we can actually be more effective than ever. So I know, Becky, you're part of a group that's talking about a marketing board. I personally am a huge proponent of us talking about how do we, as a total industry, come together and tell our stories. And the great thing is it doesn't take the millions of dollars that the Mexican Avocado Commission paid for a Super Bowl commercial. Most of what we could do in the flower space could be done with a TikTok video, with somebody with a great camera light, and their iPhone can take a quick video that can go viral and can really drive knowledge, excitement, and understanding of how to use our products.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said hit it more there, Jordan. So I do want to thank our panelists, Andrea, Kate, Richard, Jordan, Paula, Cristina, all of you for joining me today. I think if nothing else, it came across loud and clear that we all want to keep this momentum going, and it's all about collaboration and working together to keep it going and to meet the challenges that we're facing. I would want to just echo one last thing here to say, coming in December 31st, PMA will dissolve, and there will be a new trade association, but PMA, moving forward with this new organization, will be here for the floral industry. We're not going to miss a beat. The council will continue. Everything will be moving forward. But just you will be hearing that there will be a new organization. It will have a new name, new brand, the whole 9 yards. But Floral is very, very much part of this organization, and we will continue to be there for the supermarket side of the industry as we keep this momentum going. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Andres and thank all of you again.
Well, that's been a great evening. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to Augusto, to Cristina here on stage, all people here listening in person, all people connected through the internet. I would like to thank very much, and I would like to leave you with a small video.
Aló. Un regalito para Andrés.
back again. Thank you very
No,
much.
Andrés, espera, te tenemos una sorpresita de despedida. Te queremos dar las gracias por haber estado con nosotros todos estos tiempos y haber organizado este magnífico panel.
Muchas gracias.
Apreciado Andrés, la Junta Directiva de Azoculflores en Antioquia, sus empresas afiliadas y todo el equipo administrativo, le decimos gracias. Gracias por su compromiso, gracias por su profesionalismo, gracias por ayudar y sacar adelante a la floricultura colombiana durante casi 3 años que estuvo al frente de la dirección de Ceniflores. Hoy se lo agradecemos. Todos los que estamos aquí le queremos rendir este pequeño homenaje.
Thank you. Muchas gracias. I have no words. Sorry about all this. This was not expected. No estaba esperando esto. I'll switch to Spanish. Sorry to our panelists. Ha sido un camino muy especial de muchos aprendizajes. Como lo vieron en el video, voy a dar un paso al costado, pero me llevo lo mejor del sector floricultor, lo mejor de los floricultores en Cundinamarca y lo mejor de los floricultores en Antioquia. Tienen un sector espectacular y que estoy seguro es el ejemplo a seguir de todos los agronegocios del país. El potencial de Colombia en agroexportación es gigantesco y ustedes son los que han abierto ese camino. Así que salgo muy agradecido del sector floricultor. Muchas gracias. Augusto. A todos los invito entonces a pasar a tomarnos una copa, a escuchar algo de música, a comernos un bocadito y a disfrutar de las bellas flores que los breeders han donado para este evento. Muchas gracias a todos.